All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Hector Dominguez. I work for the City of Portland as the Open Data and Privacy Coordinator. This presentation is going to be about surveillance technologies and public participation. Next, please. So the first thing that I would like to do is explain what we're talking about with surveillance technologies. So last February, we passed a City of Portland resolution, binding resolution, defining surveillance technologies in general as a equipment or information system that collect data from people's lives. That includes the social, work, or physical interactions. So, and this information could include identity, movements, culture, linguistic knowledge, nature, and history of an individual or group of individuals. One of the things about surveillance technologies is that not necessarily, sometimes they don't collect personal identifiable information. It's just a way of tracking people's movements in general. So it could be complex sometimes to define that. But the idea is that it's just tracking people. And these are some of the examples. Surveillance technologies can include automated license plate readers, body-worn cameras, security cameras or CCTV, connected transportation, digital kiosks, the ones that you could see in the malls and have a camera here and there, drones with different sensors mounted on them, gunshot detectors, ride light cameras, facial recognition, and other biometric collection systems, geolocation systems, everything that just you can put in the map. So that could be also considered surveillance technologies. Public Wi-Fi, when you connect to a public Wi-Fi, the system there, the router there, they can collect your device, unique information, and then track you as you move through different devices and routers. RFIDs and Bluetooth sensors can be also being able to track people. Smart payment systems, smart meters, and social networks monitoring. Now, within our surveillance policy, there are some things that may look like surveillance, but they are not surveillance, right? Like, for instance, or at least not considered surveillance within our definitions. There could be basic traffic sensors, air temperature sensors, or emergency alarms, that just deliver one single data point here and there, and like a counter or how many cars go through a specific point. Those sort of things. Those are not considered surveillance technologies. Also, geographic information systems that just collect, or information systems that just collect generic data that may include spreadsheets, data dashboards, or geographic information systems. Those are also not surveillance technologies. And most of the anonymized collection of information that are also not, like a survey, for instance. A survey is not considered a surveillance technology. Next. As I mentioned, so in last February, we passed a surveillance technologies policy. That policy took more than a year of public engagement. We have 17 different public events, from literacy events, collaborative events. More than 400 people were participating in all those events. And then all their comments and notes were actually compiled and are part of an exhibit in this policy. Next, please. We also have work sessions with our city council. This policy passed as on February 1st this year, and includes 5 different directives. The first one is that we are building right now the citywide surveillance technologies inventory. Early this year, we started that work, and right now we are on the implementation phase. Right now, we are actually looking into the accountability, oversight, and effective public participation in the context of surveillance technologies. We are also implementing privacy impact assessments of new surveillance technologies, for the procurement of new surveillance technologies. There we are actually already we have a pilot period through before the development of the policy. Right now, we are working and collaborating with the procurement teams, with the IT services within the city to develop the guidelines and individual policies that will implement this portion of privacy impact assessments. We are also working on designing a citywide privacy program. And finally, starting to look into automated decision systems that include artificial intelligence, something that we are going to be starting to do next year. Next, please. So just as a quick report back on the surveillance technologies inventory, we hosted 2 virtual events and 2 in-person gatherings. Through the summer, we actually conducted the surveillance technologies inventory survey from July to August, and we got 98 responses. I mean, the survey was actually quite extensive. And you see a word cloud there with most of the written comments, so aggregated in that word cloud. And then we were asking most of the time on, is this information useful for you? And we were compiling all the data in 5 different buckets that included the data processing, the ways that we do oversight, and accountability, transparency, and all that. In general, people are, of course, concerned about surveillance technologies, people who answer, but we can recognize that people don't feel like they know much about these issues. And that actually triggered us to start working on more digital literacy, more events, and methods in which we can actually communicate better what we're talking about when we talk about surveillance technologies. Next, please. Now, within the context of the government and technology, so there are many different phases, right? So the government has some function, serve the people in Portland. Yeah, and then next you can be. However, we face now with a big challenge because we are in a transition from the current form of government, which is based on a commission form of government, 5 commissioners, including the mayor, to a new form of government with 12 different council members that they are actually representing 12 different districts in Portland, and having the mayor to have a more executive role, assisted by a city administrator to manage all the different bureaus in all these 6 different work areas that are described to the right. Exactly. So one of the challenges here is that this form of government is going to be implemented until 2025. That means that anything that we are going to propose to council is probably not going to be very effective until the new form of government is in place. And the big challenge for us, for our team now, is that what are we going to be doing next year in 2024, which is the city is going to have and going to go through different transitions and reorganizations. And at the same time, there's elections happening. So that's something that we want you, all who are listening to this recording, who are present in this session, to help us to figure out and just to keep moving forward this work. Next, please. Yeah, so in government, so there are different stakeholders that have a participation in the decision-making in general, particularly on technology, right? So the highest level is city council. City council, they are elected officials, and they have the authority to approve policies, budgets, projects, and programs, right? Then city bureaus, they are the administrators and the managers of those programs and projects, including budgets as well. We work also with city attorneys, and city attorneys, they are really in charge of assuring compliance, legal compliance of everything that we do throughout the city. And we work with them because of privacy. In the privacy context, there are different ways in which we need to comply with Oregon law and all this federal law as well sometimes, and we need their help. And finally, so within city bureaus, also there are bureaus specifically working on procurement or IT. And I'm going to mention a little bit about them in the next slide. But so we're talking about the Bureau of Technology Services, who are actually the administrators for all the technology that the city owns across the city. Finally, within the city, we have advisory bodies. In technology, we have the Technology Oversight Committee, who are all volunteers appointed by the city commissioners. The Technology Oversight Committee is actually looking into big picture technologies and not necessarily into surveillance or privacy. And also within the Bureau of Technology Services, they have a group that serves as a liaison between IT services and all these different bureaus in the city, which is the Bureau Customer Stakeholders Group. So it's a quite an ecosystem of stakeholders there. Next, please. Just for procurement of technology, so procurement in general follows a specific paths, and it's defined, many of the things are actually defined on city code and administrative rules. The Bureau of Revenue and Financial Services is the one who like administers that procurement in general. Within goods and services, there is a check when the city is buying or procuring technology. When it's a yes, so it goes to the Bureau of Technology Services, and then they do the assessment for whether or not that technology complies with our requirements, they draft contracts, and they assure that the vendor also follows what the city needs to have. So they finish the contract, and then it follows the regular procurement path, depending on the amount of the contract. So it can actually be purchased in different ways. Next, please. Yeah, and another piece of information is that the city of Portland has this city technology standards, which is a manual of all the approved technologies that the Bureau of Technology Services has. Some of those or supports in general. And this manual really describes the technology and how the technology should be used within the city. Most of the things are actually, well, there are many things just connected to just the regular computers, radios, and some software and platforms. And one idea is that within just to create a space just for surveillance technologies, and we will see how it goes. Next, please. Yeah. Now, public participation framework. So the question here is, everything that you have seen is done internally in the city, right? So within the city, there is an official or a program manager or supervisor or city staff who are actually making all these different decisions in terms of selecting the technology, making sure the technology complies with all the requirements that the city has, and then completing the use and the implementation of that technology, doing the oversight internally, doing audits, but everything is inside. Where is public participation happening, right? Is there any public participation? The answer is that there is not much public participation in general. Sometimes it's just if the public needs something, so they can actually approach to different bureaus, and it would be a longer process. The idea that we have through the surveillance technologies policy is actually explore ways in which the communities in Portland, particularly those who are impacted by the implementation of surveillance technologies, can actually have some agency on deciding what type of technology, how that technology should be used, what is the requirements that they want, and when to finish that technology, for instance. Next. So we have been like through the development of the surveillance technologies policy last year, we heard so many different stories, right? So people are concerned in general about how their image, how their movements are being tracked, how the technology that now is hyper connected in backends. So big companies are actually using big data for like their own purposes, right? To provide new services or to provide revenue streams for their own company. Sometimes that's done with consent, sometimes that's done without consent. So where is the regular people, the regular neighbor, like there, right? Next, please. So when we are talking about public participation in surveillance technologies, we are hoping, that's kind of our goals, right? To get effective and informed governance of technology by the city, by all these entities that are actually having a stake within that, all these different decisions, so they are informed by the community. They are in like the right protections for Portlanders and visitors in terms of the digital rights, and particularly their privacy. Like the people have some agency in decisions over using surveillance technologies. There is a clear, authority lineage, so people know who has the decision power, who is the point of contact where they can actually ask for information or require some accountability or transparency. So people know that there are transparency, there are like the right reporting and accountability strategies implemented as well. Can you think about any other? And we're going to have that discussion at the end of this presentation. Next. So the International Association of Public Participation has this spectrum, right? We have explored up to the collaboration. So our team, our program has actually done some on conferences. We have spaces like this one where we collaborate, we co-design things, but we haven't been able to reach the empowerment section. So this framework goes from just informing the community, consulting through a survey, getting more involved in those decisions, having a collaboration, which is where we have been actually exploring, and we feel very proud of that, even though I definitely accept that the collaboration is constrained, right? Most of our meetings are actually small in number, however, with good quality of people. People who join our meetings are very well informed. So we have a trade-off there. Now, how do we really empower the community? That's what we are going to be exploring here. Next, please. So there are different types of engagement events that we have been using, like coordination meetings. Coordination meetings are actually quite interesting because that's an invitation for people in the community to help us organize these public events. So one of the things that we are trying to do also, trying to do is, for instance, to have a representation in terms of the people, the team who's organizing the event, representing the demographics of those communities that we are targeting with these communications. So that's one goal all the time. So just informing, literacy, listening session, co-designs, policy workshops, we call them like discotheques. That's another format that we have tried in the past, and work sessions. And sometimes we target those for specific audiences, right? In this case, you can see there for our city council, but those work sessions could also be targeting specific groups that they are in their own context, for instance. Next. So traditionally in the city, we have been using advisory boards, committees, and working groups. You know, these advisory boards exists mostly within an like advisory capacity, right? So these committees, they just provide a recommendation. Some can hear appeals, provide expertise. Some can advocate for specific issues. They can receive public concern or establish, review, and enforce certain policies and regulations. So that's what we already have within the city, right? More or less, those templates. Yeah, next, please. So one of the challenges with this traditional approach is that we have a limited number of seats at the table, right? So they have their bylaws, they're relatively limited sometimes, and sometimes getting people to participate, it can be hard. In general, those are volunteers only, no compensation, and it can be like the staffing can be very expensive. Some of these groups sometimes become gatekeepers, rather than gateways. They can be highly political and moving away from being more like practical. And sometimes we'll tend to see the same and already overrun community representatives. Sometimes we see like the same organizations joining us, which we appreciate. I personally appreciate that commitment. However, ideally, we want more people to participate here, and that is one of the biggest challenges that we face. Next, please. So I'm going to share a few examples of alternatives to that, right? For instance, in Canada, they have tried this digital assembly in June this year. So 35 young people from all over Canada, they came to a place just to discuss about online safety and for themselves and future generations. So the selection for that was all across the country using civic lottery to assure representation of the demographics and diversity of Canada. So the lead for that was the McGill University Center for Media, Technology, and Democracy. And the organization called Mass LBP. You can find more on that website. Just like that, the assembly is also they've been used in other contexts as well. So they're usually large. Sorry, you can come back a little bit. They're usually large. They can be. This one is only 35 people. I've seen some others, citizen assemblies with 100 people, for instance. There, however, they can be very expensive and they can be, it's a large number of people, and all of them have to be informed and trained to do this job. Okay, next. So the other approach is what, for instance, the city of Auckland is doing with the Privacy Advisory Commission. This advisory commission is based on ACLU's community control over policing surveillance model, or CCOPS. The advisory commission, the Auckland Privacy Advisory Commission, provides advice on the city of Auckland on best practices to protect privacy of Aucklanders. And they do a lot of revision of the privacy impact assessments of surveillance equipment and other technology that collects our stores data. So this commission is formed by 9 commissioners, all appointed by the council members, with the restriction that at least 6 must be residents. And they all need to have a work expertise, either in civic participation, political advocacy, cybersecurity, privacy, data and information. So it's highly, the requirements to be an expert is a high bar in general. Next. The city of San Francisco, for instance, they have the Committee on Information Technology, which is a governance body around surveillance technology in general. And within that committee, there is a board working on privacy and surveillance issues. All of them are actually city employees. The city of Seattle, for instance, they have something in between. They have the privacy office, all of them very capable, and at the same time, they have their surveillance policy requires an advisory group, external advisory group, but maintaining and sustaining the advisory group in Seattle has been very difficult. So it hasn't been active through COVID in general. So that's a challenge for them. Next, in Seattle. An example here in Portland is the Planning Commission. For instance, the Planning Commission is charged with the City of Portland's lands use planning through stewardship, development, and maintenance of the city's comprehensive plan and zoning code, right? So this commission is also 9 members appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the city council, and all the bylaws and everything is actually described in code and the bylaws. Yeah, next. An alternative to that, this is the New York City People's Tech Assembly, which is a mixture between online and offline forums, where people can actually discuss different issues publicly. So in this case, New Yorkers discuss their concerns, ideas on how technology play a role in their lives. So you can find more information there. Similarly, in the city of Barcelona, they have this system called Decidim, which is purely online. In Decidim, communities can actually create issues, and it's something like a popularity vote. The city can also create issues, and that's a way in which people can actually provide feedback, comments, participate in these forums. There can be different challenges. Usually the most popular projects go forward, and sometimes controversial projects can be very difficult to analyze or to decide. They can get like thousands of comments, and going through those thousands of comments can be very expensive and not practical as well. So that's one issue that I've seen with Decidim, for instance. So the pretty much setting an issue, setting a space for discussion has to be well thought. Next, please. Yeah, and I apologize. Well, because I did not stop for having a conversation or discussion, but is there any question or comment of everything that I have said? And with that, I'm going to stop. We're going to stop recording now. Thank you so much for listening to this.